The Strait of Hormuz may have just crossed into a completely different phase this afternoon. Ben Dykes here. Iranian media is now claiming the United States Navy disabled an Iranian oil tanker inside the strait after the vessel allegedly ignored warnings and violated the blockade zone. Almost immediately after the incident, reports started flooding out of Iranian state-linked media claiming Iran launched missiles towards the Strait of Hormuz, targeting the United States ships. Some reports are even claiming cruise missiles were used. Now, here's where this gets important. Iranian outlets are also saying American warships were damaged and forced to retreat. I don't know if I believe that, but I'm trying to get the information now. But this is exactly where people need to slow down and understand what happens during the opening moments of a maritime escalation campaign. Because in this environment, information warfare starts before the shooting even stops. I spent 20 years in the submarine force. I understand a little bit of this. And one thing people need to understand about naval operation, in a confined waterway like Hormuz, like the Persian Gulf, nobody fully controls the narrative in real time. Not Iran, not the Pentagon, not the media. The first reports are almost always chaotic, emotional, exaggerated, incomplete, or intentionally manipulated, which is probably what's happening here, especially when both sides are trying to shape this entire narrative. Now let's talk about the tanker itself. If the U.S. Navy actually disabled an Iranian tanker after it ignored repeated warnings, that is not some random isolated event. That is enforcement. That means the blockade posture just became real. And once enforcement becomes real, escalation ladders start moving quickly. Rules of engagement. Because from Iran's perspective, they cannot appear weak inside the Strait of Hormuz. This is their turf. This is their strategic pressure point. This is the narrow artery that moves a massive portion of the world's maritime oil trade. And if Iran allows U.S. naval forces to disable Iranian shipping without responding, then their deterrence credibility collapses across the region. So what do? They launch, or they claim to launch, or they exaggerate. They launch success, because perception matters almost as much as physical damage in modern conflict. Now, personally, I'm extremely skeptical of the Iranian claims that U.S. warships were heavily damaged and forced to retreat. That's not happening. Because disabling or mission killing a modern United States destroyer is not something you hide for very long, especially in one of the most monitored waterways on Earth. These other tankers would be sharing this information. But that doesn't mean that missiles were not fired. Those are two very different things. Iran absolutely has the capability to saturate the strait with anti-ship threats, drones, cruise missiles, fast attack boats. We've seen those, mines, this intercoastal and coastal launch system. And the threat is real. And that's why the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most dangerous maritime checkpoints or choke points on the entire planet. Now, strategically, here's the part the media keeps missing. There is no longer just one tanker that's the problem. This is about testing resolve. Iran is testing whether the United States is truly willing to enforce freedom of navigation under threat conditions. And the United States is testing whether Iran is bluffing about escalation. That's the real game. And that's the real game happening right now. Because once shipping companies begin believing the strait is uncontrollable, insurance spikes, energy markets panic, shipping reroutes begin, global pressure explodes. That's why every missile report in Hormuz matters, even before confirmation. Now, because of the psychological effect and that part of the battlefield, this is exactly why misinformation campaigns become so intense during moments like this. Everybody wants to control the first narrative headline. That's usually the one that sticks. Iran wants to project strength. Western media wants clicks. That's here in the United States. Political activists online want emotional chaos. And meanwhile, the actual operational picture is still developing in real time. So right now, the most important thing is not panicking over every viral headline. It's understanding what this pattern means. And the pattern right now says this: the Strait of Hormuz is becoming the central pressure point of this entire confrontation. And if those actions continue, chances of a direct naval exchange rise dramatically. That's the reality, not the propaganda, not the memes, not the emotional posting, the operational reality. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I'm just trying to get these headlines out because there's a lot of stuff going on that I believe you all need to know about. This is Ben Dykes right here in Arkansas. Catch you in the next one.